Class, my name is Xiomora COF, and today my topic is on social media. Okay, so my proposition is that social media negatively affects our mental health as well as creates narcissistic personalities. And for those who don't know, narcissistic means a person who has excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. So I have 3 secondary claims. The first one is social media negatively affects our mental health at such a young age and only gets worse the more time is spent on social media sites. The second one is social media is negatively affecting interaction and communication skills. And my third one is social media causes jealousy and narcissistic personalities, which then leads to cyberbullying. So I'm going to start off with the first secondary claim. One piece of evidence that I found is that a UK government study found that 41% of children who spent over 3 hours on social media on a normal school day reportedly suffer from mental difficulties compared to the 21 who spend no time on the sites. So these mental difficulties that are like self-esteem, human communications, and memory. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but most of the influencers who are like on YouTube create like these Instagram posts for their babies when they're like 1 month old, or like, you know, as soon as they're born, they instantly have an Instagram page, and within like a couple weeks they already have hundreds of thousands of followers. So that's just creating a platform for these children who probably don't even, when they grow up, might not even want to have, you know, that platform, and they have those expectations the more they grow up of having to, you know, post on the regulars on their social media. So that kind of affects them with their communications as well, because they're just going to be focusing most of their lives with their social platform that they have. My second one is that how it goes deeper into how it affects the interaction and communication skills. There was a study that USC found that 32% reportedly using social media and texting during meals and talking with family and friends. 10% of people younger than 25 years old respond to social media and text messages during sex. So, you know, when you're at the table and when you're like having your lunch or your dinner with your family members, most of us, we all done it before. We're usually on our phones and we're usually texting back. And it was actually found that, you know, during sex, you're having intimacy relationships with your partner. It was found that 10% actually respond to their messages or check their social media during the time. So it's like, if we do that with the people that we're comfortable with, how are we going to do it with people that we're, you know, surrounding ourselves with? So like during the classroom, a lot of times people are on their phones and they don't actually, you know, interact with one another. Although that some people may say that social media is a good way to communicate to people, that also can lead to cyberbullying, which is my third point. You know, a lot of people send messages and pictures on social media that others, you know, expose, and, you know, even though someone sent it, it was their privacy, and, you know, it's their fault for sending it, they still get passed down through many other sites and many other things. That I remember from personal experience, there was a website where like people were sharing me comments, but it was anonymous, so no one ever knew about it, and they just shared pictures and comments about people, and it causes the suicide rate to go up as well. With the whole narcissistic personality, which is my third one, there's a lot of people on social media who often get ready and dress just to take a picture for their Instagram, to post it and get likes and views. This often leads to people having jealousy and one-upping each other, whereas like if a person posts a picture with like a new Gucci bag, someone else tries to like up them because they want to be better than them. So it starts getting into like it starts getting very addictive, trying to one-up each other on social media. There is a study that have shown that social media triggers feelings of jealousy. The author of one study looking at jealousy and other negative feelings while using Facebook wrote that this magnitude of envy incidents taking place on Facebook alone is outstanding, providing evidence that Facebook offers a breeding ground for envious feelings. So that's just Facebook alone. People see relationships and they start getting jealous and start getting envious feelings. So that's how things usually get ruined, and the narcissistic personalities come in where like people only care about themselves. There's another study that was found that 52% of students have reported being victim of cyberbullying, with 82% naming Facebook as a site through which they have been bullied through. As we all know, Facebook comes from a long time ago. Now we use Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, other sources of social media. So Facebook being one of the top ones is kind of upsetting, because now we have all these other social media sites that are way bigger than what Facebook is, and people still do cyberbullying and have comments through those as well. And there is actually 31.3% of female students that have admitted to committing bullying behavior online. Sometimes we don't think about this because we're all in college now, and we don't have time for that. We're all trying to do homework and trying to study, but the rates actually keep going up and up by time. In conclusion, I think that you should agree with me that social media negatively affects our mental health and creates these narcissistic personalities that we don't need. Thank you.
Well, at the beginning of the speech, I think you have a clear identification of what your proposition is. There's an excellent preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. I'm not exactly sure why the narcissism issue is picked out and emphasized in the main proposition, since it's really only developed in that third point that you get to. You signpost the structures as you're getting to those points. That's pretty good, except on that third point, I couldn't tell if it was all cyberbullying and narcissism was a part of that, or if narcissism was a fourth point that you were trying to present, and then we came back to cyberbullying. So the organizational consistency, especially on the third point or fourth point, was, I think, a little inconsistent. You explain a lot of precepts in the argument. I think that that's a good idea. The notion that you're proving them, I think, is a little underwhelming. There's a couple of places where there's some statistical data about, for instance, people having emotional difficulty. 41% versus 21%. You're kind of attributing that to the use of social media. I really don't know what it means to say that they had some kind of difficulty. And I'm not sure that how important that is. I like the information that you have about people who check their phones and respond when they are having dinner or having sex. I personally think that that's rude. I can imagine that would be a pretty damn annoying sort of thing. But is there a harmful consequence to it? Does it hurt relationships? Does it mean that people are less engaged emotionally with their partners, their families, any of those sorts of things? I think you need a little bit more information on that. You kind of taken it as an assumption that there's something wrong and bad about that. And I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm just saying you need to make the argument that there is something wrong there, that if we are dividing our time between our family and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter feeds, that means that we have less time for the immediate relationships, and that those relationships are important and they're suffering in some way. That's what you have to do, is you have to build that kind of argument. There's an assertion about the bullying thing that when they share mean things, that there's an increase in suicides. I didn't see any evidence to support that particular point. The notion that there are feelings of jealousy as a result of the social comparison that goes on some of the media sites, I think that's probably true. I'm not sure how controversial that is. I think people get feelings of jealousy when they watch a car going down the street and they say, that's a nice looking car, I wish I had one like that too. So how is it substantially different? Does it affect anybody? Is there a consequence to anybody? I think we need a little bit more argument that. This is very early speculative kind of stuff on the social media. I do think that you're doing a little bit more reading than you would like to, and you need to project your voice a little bit, but you finish in a good amount of time, like I said, and I thought that the start was, set things up pretty well. Content just needs to be a little bit more developed. All right, thank you.